Hello there, everybody, and welcome. So we're back again now to have another mastermind, another round table around Think and Grow Rich. So we're on the chapter about desire, and my name is Lloyd. Myself and Mark are hosting this call. Really, it's not so much about us; it's about all of you, and it's an opportunity for those of you who are in the Facebook group Think and Grow Rich Mastermind, or who may be watching this later on YouTube or some other platform, to get involved with the conversation, whether it's just in the comments. We will periodically be asking questions. Other people are going to share here on the call. You might have an epiphany. You might want to share it in the chat on any of those platforms. And in the description, no matter what platform it's on, you're going to see an opportunity to connect with some of the other platforms that some of this information will land on. So by all means, subscribe over on YouTube and join the Facebook group and do all that good stuff. So that being said, I've been masterminding with Mark specifically and everybody here on this call for many, many, many years. And we've delved into all sorts of different topics, whether it be Think and Grow Rich, or where maybe it's Neville Goddard, or it's Simon Sinek, or John Maxwell's leadership training, and various other things. And we would range from things of a physical nature, things of a financial nature, things of a spiritual nature, and really just curious human beings, really. We're having an emotional experience in a physical body, arguably as spiritual beings. So that's where we're coming from, and that's the intention that we're chiming in here to you. So if you're watching this in the Facebook group, there is a link somewhere over below where you can click, and you'll end up in the waiting room here, and you can come into Zoom, as somebody just did, and you can join the conversation live. What that means is you will be streamed live into this group as we go through the next hour. I'm going to get out of the way pretty quickly here, but I'm just going to recap on what we were talking about in the last couple of weeks. We're still pretty early on in this process. We really just wanted to take an opportunity to meet with all of the people that are part of the wider group, to talk about things that matter to you, to help you potentially get in touch with a better understanding of what your burning desire is, perhaps get clearer on how you might move towards them. We are allies in that. We're not presenting ourselves as experts in any way. We're just curious. And, we spoke about the idea that thoughts become things. Now, we got into a deep discussion about that. So if you want to go back, you scroll down, if you're in the Facebook group, or if you're on the Facebook, on YouTube, maybe you just go back in the playlist and you'll find that video, and you can delve deep into that. And I would suggest, if you're watching this as a replay, maybe go back to the beginning and start at the beginning of these recordings and work your way through. And by all means, come and join us live next time. We'd love to hear your perspective. And we touched on 3 feet from gold, the importance of persistence, and how we can sometimes stop just before the payout was coming, which I know has happened to me many times. We talked about some examples of that from some of the people that were on the call. On that call, we were talking about white hot burning desire. I know from speaking to people over the years that there's lots of people that I speak to, they don't have a white hot burning anything about anything. And so they're struggling to find or reconnect with that fire that they had maybe when they were younger. And also then finally not recognizing failure as the end of the road, but merely a stepping stone, is a huge part of continuing towards what you perceive to be success. So with that being said, I'm really happy to see everyone on the call today. I'd like to introduce somebody else today, actually. It's always beautiful to reconnect with people we haven't seen in a while. I'm going to give the mic across to Mr. Ron Reese here, just as an opportunity for him to share just a little bit about who he is, how he ended up to be on the call here today, or maybe if you want to kind of keep to around 2 minutes or so, Ron is a beautiful soul, a very, very nice man that I've had the pleasure of masterminding with many, many times, and a real ally in helping other people to improve their lives. So over to you, Ron.
Thanks, Lloyd. Thanks, Mark. And yeah, guys, Noble Goldman is a platform which has helped me quite a bit. And one of the things is because of the Noble Goldman platform of Think and Grow Rich, using the methodologies, and I've only learned through Noble Goldman about Think and Grow Rich through Noble Goldman. I've heard of the book, but what I've done is I start studying it and start applying this to my life. Yes, I'm in real estate, but it's not about being in real estate. It's how to grow myself as a better person. And you know, with masterminding with Mark and Lloyd and Edith and Yanni, we had a lot of times we had the one-on-ones and helping each other through a journey of how do we get over that threshold, you know. And when we had the mastermind groups of how we grew each other to the next level, you know, and this is what I found quite interesting and why I will always be a member of Noble Goldman, because of the principles that Mark put together of checking your goals, checking your daily activities, checking your gratitude. Yes, sometimes I still do it, but I forget to get onto the platform of tracking it. But I still apply that into my daily methods of operation, because working with Lloyd as well as Mark, using that platform, understanding why do you have to have gratitude in the morning? Why do you have to have affirmations? Why do you have to visualize? Why do you have to set goals? And since I've been doing this, I can see a big improvement in my life going forward of having a success in what I'm doing. Because I realize by being successful and leveraging with people like yourselves, that's how I become the person I want to be. So Lloyd, Mark, thank you very much. And also thank you to Noble Goldman.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. Thank you very much for participating and sharing a little bit about where you are. Also, could you just tell everybody in the world where you are, just so everybody gets a sense? And I'd love to encourage everybody in the chat and anybody that's listening in to type where you're from as well in the comment down below. But Ron, please, I'm on the west coast of Canada. Okay. You know, Lloyd's over in Ireland.
Yeah, so I'm in South Africa, but at the moment I'm in England visiting my wife. So I'm
excellent.
So I'm one part in South Africa, one part in England. Yeah, but this is what the journey of Zoom is. Doesn't matter where in the world we can connect.
That's right. That's right. That's fantastic. So thank you for being here. Oh, Wanda put in, she's from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I know Edit is not too far from her as well in Toronto. I believe Paula, you're down in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. I hope you're safe and sound right now in terms of this big hurricane going through there. And Yanni, if I'm not mistaken, you're down in California. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Beautiful. So we're all over the planet here, and I'm just really grateful to be able to connect with you all today. We're going to dive into the mastermind principles and just do a round robin. Anna, I'm not sure if you had an opportunity to type in the chat where you're from as well. Do you want to tell everybody where you're from? Oh, Orange County, California. Okay, I missed it. All right, fantastic. Okay, so everybody who wants to participate in reading the mastermind principles, that would be great. I'm just going to share my screen right now, and we'll just do a round robin like we normally do. And we'll read through this, and then we'll jump right into the call. So, Mr. Chambers, do you want to kick us off? And then I'll just call out everybody's name. And for those of you that can participate,
absolutely,
we'll go.
Yeah, thank you. So the mastermind principles. I begin every mastermind meeting by reading the 7 mastermind principles. I release. I release myself to the mastermind because I am stronger when I have others to help me.
Wanda, go ahead.
I believe the combined intelligence of the mastermind creates a wisdom far beyond my own.
Wonderful. Edit, please go ahead.
I understand that I will more easily create positive results in my life when I am open to looking at myself, my problems, and opportunities from another's point of view.
Wonderful. Ron.
I forgive myself for mistakes I've made. I've also forgive others who've hurt me in the past, so I can move into the future with a clean slate.
Wonderful. Paula.
I ask the mastermind to hear what I really want, my goals, my dreams, my desires, and I hear my mastermind partners supporting me in my fulfillment.
Wonderful. Yanni.
I accept, I know, relax, and accept, believing that the working power of the mastermind will respond to my every need. I am grateful knowing this is so.
Anna. Okay, maybe she can't participate. That's fine. Back to you, Mr. Chambers.
Dedication and covenant. I now have a covenant in which it is agreed that the mastermind shall supply me with an abundance of all things necessary to live a success-filled and happy life.
Wanda.
I dedicate myself to be of maximum service to the world and my fellow human beings, to live in a manner that will set the highest example for others to follow, and to remain an open channel of God's will.
Thank you. Edit.
I go forth with a spirit of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy.
Wonderful. Ron.
The mission statement, Noble Goldman International is a conscious, aware of engaged global community of abundance and freedom creators.
Thank you. Paula.
Our mission is to create 1 million millionaires who are free from time for money paradigm. We focus on creating multiple streams of income through masterminding, team building, and the effective utilization of the internet-based platforms.
Wonderful. Go ahead, Yanni.
The mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery where the self-transcendent shift from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time.
Beautiful. Sorry, we got some sound interruption here. Just give me a quick moment to find out what's going on there.
You got it, Mark? It could be just somebody's unmuted or something. That being said, yeah, thanks for that, Ron. One thing probably just for those that are watching at home, our intention on this call was not specifically to get into what Noble Goldman is or is not. As I heard you, Ron, use the words about 6 times in your while you were talking, I should probably highlight what Ron was talking about. So there's a platform. Mark there is the creator, programmer, visionary individual that created the platform. He did so in an effort to bring people together so that they could collaboratively raise their consciousness and live in more abundance, essentially. And then as we masterminded together, we recognized that it would be useful for us to share the skills and techniques that we had learned, kind of formulate them into a structure that we could follow every day. And we created some 30-day programs and 90-day programs and stuff just to get everybody kind of working collaboratively on their own personal development journey, which includes obviously things like auto suggestion, right, which you might know as affirmations, and things that are discussed in the book, which we're going to get into as we go through the Think and Grow Rich book. So rather than me talk about it, let's dig into the actual text itself, and then let everybody chime in with what their thoughts are. Because although Mark has been hosting masterminds for 7 years on this topic, and myself for 6. We're only 2 of thousands and thousands of people who have a lot of things to share, some of which we may be aware of, but lots of which we aren't. And so we want to put it back to you guys to kind of dig into this. Over to you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Lloyd. I would just like to highlight that the main objective of this call today is to hear from all of you and to hear your insights, your perspectives, and what you would like to share related to the topic. And for those of you who haven't been following along, we're right in chapter 1 on the chapter on desire. And we're at this paragraph right here, and we're about to transition into the 6 steps to create a definitive plan to acquire whatever riches that you're seeking. But I thought it'd be worthwhile just sort of recapping where we left off last week, maybe give each of you an opportunity to share your thoughts on this, and then we can get into each of the 6 steps specifically. And I'd love to hear any stories, any background, any personal experiences, any insights, anything that you would like to contribute in terms of your interpretation or experiences related to, this critical step in the book. So in this paragraph, I'll just quickly recap it. Every human being who reaches the age of understanding for the purpose of money wishes for it. Wishing will not bring riches, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, then planning definitive ways and means to acquire riches, and backing those plans with persistence, which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. So there's a lot there. I personally love the obsession part of the line, because I know when I get obsessed about something, watch out. But I'm really curious, does anybody have a thought or something they would like to share related to this paragraph? We went in depth last week, so we can go through it pretty quick. But for those of you that are new on the call, I'd love to hear your perspectives. Please go ahead, Ron.
Mark, it's quite interesting what you spoke about is, and with desire and so on. The first thing, there's 4 steps what I look at desire. And the first one is to start off with is implementation. You can desire it, but if you don't implement it, you're not going to grow. So therefore, you have to create implementation. If you understand the implementation of where you want to go, is you have to create unification, is working with the people who's in the same mindset as you to grow. And getting into the direction to help you grow, because that leverages you up to the next level. Mm-hmm. And then the next one is communication. If you're not going to communicate with the people who's got, like I say, if you're going to communicate with people, 10 people who's got the same desire as you, you're going to be the 11th one or the 12th one. But it all starts with one thing, and that is imagination. And this is where I see the desires, because I say imagination, you can put as many zeros next to it. But if you've got imagination by applying the implementation, unification going forward, that's how I believe to get your desire, what you want in life.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Ron. One of the things that I also recognize in what you're saying there, I think it's really 100% on point, is when you dial into the frequency of that particular desire, it really changes the way you think about the approach that you're taking. So if you set a goal and your goal is relatively small, it changes the way you think about hitting the goal, versus if you make a really expansive goal, right? It completely changes the dynamic and the approach that you take to reach the goal. And yeah, so that desire is super important. and the other thing too, like, and Ron, I'm curious if you have any thoughts on this before we go on, because I know you're a deep thinker and you've thought a lot about these topics. How do you know the difference between some just generic desire and something that you're obsessed about? Like, how do you bridge that divide in your experience?
What we need to be careful of, our desire, what we want, and is okay. But what we're trying to do is we desire somebody else's desire. And that's when we get confused. And one thing is, and this is what I learned in life, in the early stages when I started my business, I saw the fancy house, I saw the fancy cars of the people around me, and I tried to live their desire, because trying to work their way in marketing, trying to work with their way in sales, and it never worked. It took me, how can I put it? When I went into my own and the person says, just go knock on that door and just see if you can get that insurance policy or whatever you do. That's when you start realizing your own desire, because you have to move out of that comfort zone, because we're so scared what people is going to say because of having those notes. So the desire that you need to know is write it down and say, okay, if I want to get in of getting that car, that is my desire. What is the steps you're going to get to that car? Don't use somebody else's ways of thinking, because you've got your own mind, you've got your own direction. That's where I see the difference is, because I'm just using a car, for instance. It could be a business opportunity. And one of the things I coached on this is, if I look at a person's business mind and says, I want to be a great real estate agent, that's fine, but you might not be a great caller. Use other people's time to help you to get to your desire. Don't try to do everything yourself. So therefore, I say, you need to understand, be specific what your desire is and write it down, and do the do's and the don'ts, and write yourself a roadmap. I mean, I don't know if that answers your question, Mark.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. And I think there's also a difference between being a really good real estate agent and also desiring to be a wealthy, really good real estate agent. So being specific likely really matters. I'm curious, Paula, do you have any insights at all that you'd like to share? Because I know you've been applying this to your life for a lot of years as well. What sticks out in this paragraph for you?
Yeah, thank you. Great discussion. I am still using this in my life. Think and Grow Rich daily, although lately I've been missing some. So it's good to be back with you guys. What I find about the becoming obsessed, I think the only way I can become obsessed is if I'm really passionate about it. If it's not my purpose, that's what kind of led me down the wrong road. Well, I just didn't know. So yeah, I think it's really important to be doing something you really believe in and enjoy. I am a real estate agent and I don't love it. So I have transitioned into something I do love. I still do real estate, but didn't love it. So it wasn't that appealing to me to become rich doing something I don't love. But I know what you guys are about, and I know that getting the wealth can mean that I give so much more back to society, and that's my goal. And I have something I love, so that was important for me. Just doing something I love, as well as having this desire. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Paula. Yeah, I do find that it's been my experience as well. When you're doing an activity and you're doing it because it's providing you resources, you thought you wanted to do it, you trained in it, you built a career around that thing, but you're not obsessed with it and you don't have that burning, passionate desire, it really affects the end result that you get from it, because you're not as committed as you otherwise would be if it was a deep, passionate obsession. Ron, I see your hand up again, and then I'd love to go to anybody else who would like to add their thoughts, but go ahead, Ron.
Okay, but I just want to add what you just said, because I see that desire, that burning desire, has got two legs. And the one leg, I'll call it a muscle, because you have to work that muscle. Because if you don't work it, you're not going to get it. But the other part to it's time, and time is limited. So if you're not going to work on it, your time's going to run out of not getting your desire.
Yeah, there's definitely a self-discipline component to no matter what you pick, without question, right? But I just know that when I get obsessed about something, there's a totally different commitment level that I put to it than something that I'm just sort of need to do or have to do because it's whatever, it's not an obsession. Anybody else have any thoughts? I'm curious, Yanni or Wanda, do you have any thoughts on this paragraph before we continue? I know we
Yeah.
talked about it last week. Go ahead, Wanda.
Yeah, something that comes to my mind now is is related to the obsession piece of it. And I think that how that occurs or has occurred for me is in the decision. So that decision regarding whatever it is that I decide that I'm going to do to provide that level of wealth that I'm looking for, to generate, specific amount of revenue. So whatever the decision is that's connected to that, the obsession piece of it, I think, is fueled partly by this not recognizing failure piece of it. So, because whatever it is that you choose, doesn't matter what it is, there's going to be challenging times. And there's going to be times where you might doubt yourself, you're trying a certain approach, it's not working. And because of the fact that the decision was made to not recognize failure, that fuels the obsession part of it. And so it's okay. Like, I'm feeling whatever I'm feeling right now, but I am going to do this. And so the decision is reignited, it's reactivated. And as a result, whatever it is that's needed to maybe improve a skill, if that's what's presenting itself as a challenge right now, then that will show up for you. I think, as it has for me. And so I think that piece of it about not recognizing failure really fuels the obsession part of it. That's what I have found to be my experience. I mean, I'm in insurance sales, and I have to talk to insurance companies and banks, and you can imagine the conversations that I might have, and all of the things that factor into that, and the density of the paperwork and all of that. Is that fun? No, it's not. It's not fun at all. However, I'm focusing on why I'm doing it, how it's benefiting the people that I'm representing, what it's going to accomplish for me in relation to the wealth that I desire to generate. And that makes it interesting. It actually makes the paperwork interesting. Now, not to say that I don't initially look at this dense paperwork and think, oh, God, the last thing I want to do is read all that.
That's such a great point, Wanda, because the obsession part of it, you can be obsessed with the end outcome and the positive impact that you're having in people's lives. And you can be obsessed about how you're serving the other people and that end result. And that speaks a lot to what Ron was saying, as well as that deep, passionate desire component, and knowing the overall impact that you're having. And you're going to experience challenges and not recognize that failure. But the obsession is not to do the paperwork. The obsession is not to do the things that aren't fun, right? The obsession is the end result, the desired outcome. And I see Mr. Chambers, your hand is up. So please jump in.
Yeah. So it's fascinating to hear everybody's different ways of formulating these thoughts in their mind. Great to hear you speak again, Ron. I love how everything's so structured. It's the complete opposite of how my brain works. I really appreciate that. The only way I'm structured is by written notes first. So I like that. So thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of the structure and strategy of how you make decisions. So like decision making, you make an unconditional decision, you find or make a plan, and then you take an unconditional action based on the unconditional decision you made in the first place. And therein lies a huge obsession to be just absolutely adhere to the original decision that you made, because it came from an impulse and it had like inertia behind it, right? And I'm obsessed with overcoming challenges. Maybe it's because I, originally, I guess, for most of my life, I had no interest in money at all. I thought it was like something that, people who have questionable morals were interested in, right? So literally, right? So when I came in touch with this book, Think and Grow Rich, the title of it, I had an issue with. Never mind the information inside of it. So when I thought about obsession, I was like, I had these sort of, things ringing out, like people in church saying, money, the obsession with money is going to be damaging to your everlasting soul and things of that nature. And then I had to restructure everything in my mind and recognize we're surrounded by so much abundance. Like, it's everywhere. And yet the idea that we shouldn't be obsessed with experiencing as much as we can while we're here is ludicrous. It's so ludicrous, and yet it's the way that things are where I come from. And so I guess just Napoleon Hill is famous for saying that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, and every single day that I improve on any level in any way is what I'm obsessed about. Just that 1%. And anyone who's decided to build a business, not just people who decide to build a business, by the way, because obviously some of you may have a job and stuff as well, but for people who have decided to build a business is the category that I'm in, you can't recognize failure. I mean, there's like if you look at the progression of any successful person and you track the highs and lows of their career, they look pretty similar to one another. Only if they eventually start to head up and see that peak. If you watch graphs from the stock market, they go up and down all the time. Does that mean that the stock market doesn't work? Does that mean that it's about timing? Is it about making good decisions and, all that sort of stuff? So I definitely think that having the state of mind where you have an obsession about something is very, very important, because it will drive everything. It'll create the momentum for wherever it is you want to go. And money's not what everybody wants. But the things you can buy with money are useful, right? When you have like resources. Like the thing in Ireland at the moment is everyone wants a bit of land, a homestead, and like a little river, and they want to be left alone. That's like the plan here in Ireland that so many people are always talking about. All those things require money, and they require riches of some sort. They require you to be obsessed with the idea of self-sufficiency in order to step outside of a system that's not designed for you to be thinking that way and to go after it. So I think everything requires the same thinking that we're seeing in this paragraph here.
Yeah, thank you, Lloyd. You're bringing up a whole bunch of really important points. The one that really stands out for me that I see consistently over and over and over and over again with everybody that I've mastermind with is it's their relationship with money. Some people have an incredible relationship with money. They understand the value of money. They understand it's a form of energy. It's a very condensed energy that can be converted into potential, any potential that you want, that you set your heart's desire to deploy it, and they use it as a method to achieve positive outcomes in their lives and in the lives of other people. And other people attributed to evil and the most vile aspects of human culture. And they'll demonize anyone who has it. And the more you have, the more evil you are. Right. So I think this relationship that we all have with money is really important, especially in this paragraph when it says the desire for riches. So do you even desire riches? And specifically money, we're talking about today. I mean, obviously there's other forms of riches, but again, if we're dealing with self-limiting beliefs and subconscious blocks and all of the other things that can prevent people from actually, getting what they want, self-sabotage, etc., can you honestly look yourself in the mirror and ask and say to yourself, I have a deep, passionate, burning desire and obsession, right? And a plan that does not recognize failure to acquire money. Can you honestly say that? And I would say, I would challenge a lot of people actually do not have that obsession at all. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But if you're curious as to why you may not have as much money as you otherwise would like, it could be that paragraph is a good solid clue, because and I can say this about my own self. Can I actually say I'm obsessed about money? Probably not. Is that actually helping me? In reality, probably not. Right? So, I'm just being vulnerable right now and checking in and just saying, well, maybe I need to rethink this and redefine what it is money actually is for me. Right? What relationship do I have with that form of energy we call money? Because if you believe money is the root of all evil, why would you want any? Ron, I see I've triggered something in you. Go ahead there, my friend.
Okay. As you know, Mark, I do financial literacy, and I've seen this on a regular basis about money. The biggest problem with people is mindset. And you can go back, doesn't matter if whoever wins the lotto, 95% of the people who want big money is worse off after 3 to 4 years because I don't know how to manage money. The people that creates wealth is know how to work with money. So if you know if your desire is money, it's fine, which is great. But if you know how to manage your opportunities and grow your wealth, I mean, if you look at people like Grant Cardone as an example, having money in the bank is dead, but creating money to work for you by buying and selling properties or makes money. How do you create the passive income? The problem, most of people fear of taking that risk, but the F in fear stands for fuel. Is how do you feel? How do you create that fuel in your business? Because that's what you need in your business, to have the fuel. But the R, people look at as rupture and they'll explode instead of looking at as a rocket, how you can go forward. So if you know how, if you're going to put money in front of you and you don't know how to work with it, it's always going to be evil. because people will look for cash loans to make money, look for credit cards, how to use credit cards wrongly, because it's a debt that causes a problem, not the money.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, Ron. You've really triggered a lot for everybody here in the call. And before I go to you, Lloyd, and then Paula and Wanda, I just want to everybody listening in on the live stream. I'd love to get your thoughts on this paragraph. So put your comments down below. Let's have a discussion in the group and have everybody participate. But Mr. Chambers, you go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So just when you were asking the question, what is money to me? Obviously, I was hearing and decided to respond from my own perspective. For me, money is the resources needed to carve out some distance between me and uncomfortable decisions. That's what money is for me, right? So that's when I hear the word riches, I'm thinking, okay, choices. It's about choices. And it's not the stuff that people talk about, like, you know, I go into a restaurant and like I have to look at the right side when I really want to look at the left side, and sort of nonsense that people talk about. I mean, like the bigger challenges, I guess, when there's shifts in the political landscape or the financial landscape, or there's a market crash or any of those types of things. And I am now at the back of a queue with my hand out looking for some sort of support when I could have created the conditions in which I can support myself, means that I've got a responsibility to develop a better relationship with riches, because people are relying on me in order to do so. So when I was single, when I was younger, I was just thinking, oh, I don't really need a whole lot. So money's just something to play with. You know, so you got to pay for stuff, so you got to make it so you can spend it on stuff. And I had no concept of saving or investing, absolutely nothing. I became a parent. I was like, oh, that's what they were talking about when everyone was asking me about pensions when I was 22 years old and this sort of stuff. So I recognized very quickly, I'm going to have to up my game here. I'm going to have to develop a better relationship with riches very quickly, because I'm going to need them. All right, so supposedly a child, you know, costs minimum 100 grand by the age of 10 years old or something like that. So, you know, my daughter is now 5. You know, it's coming up on 1.5. So it's pretty, this is kind of crucial, I'd say, to develop a better relationship, because it's going to be necessary. And not just because I have to fight away for any of you who are thinking that, but because of the fact that, you know, I want them to have the options, and that, you know, whether they want to go to a pony camp or they want to do this, that, and the other. I don't want the word to be no all the time. And the reason for that is because I don't want to shrink their world while it's still growing. Well, because I think we have, as parents, a responsibility to allow the imagination that we're all trying to recapture by reading books like this and expanding our consciousness, to get contracted in the first place with the little people that we have in our charge. So that's what comes up for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Lloyd. Paula, please go ahead.
Yeah, those are great points. I think a little bit some similar to what I was going to say. I agree with what Mark said. I don't think I'm obsessed with having lots of money. I do want money, but I think what I really want is I want time, money, freedom. I want what money can buy. I want the experiences that money can buy. And I want to be able to do what I love. That's what I mentioned. That's my thing in life. Life is short, so I want to do what I love. And you know, I've been studying money and related subjects for the last 4 years. And to me, money is stored energy. It's a medium of exchange. And like I said, it's really, the reason I want it is to be able to give where I want to give, to be able to buy what I want to buy, and to be able to do what I want to do. So that's what it is to me. Thank you.
Beautiful. That's really, really well said, Paula. And for those that struggle to understand that stored energy point that you made, I just want to highlight because that's commonly said out in the world, but every one of us takes our time and our energy and we combine that into doing some productive activity for somebody else, and we get a remuneration in the form of money. So that's this condensed energy, right? And then it's how we choose to spend it, and how we choose to apply it into our life determines whether or not we have a lot of that stored energy in our own life, or are we just giving it to everybody else, right? And then also there's different strategies to acquiring that stored energy from other people, and then you in turn are storing the energy of others. And I think this is why it's important to understand that it is a form of energy. There is a circulation. I think this is where tithing and all of that also comes into play as an expression of gratitude, right? To keep that energetic flow going in a positive, uplifting, and inspiring way. So it's not a greedy, self-centered storing of energy, but rather oh, we got a variety of people joining in the room now. Welcome everybody. But Wanda, you go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm feeling really excited right now because, you know, and listening to Lloyd speak and Paula in their, you know, examples of what money means for them. You know, it aligns with what I believe money is. And you know, we talked about this before, Mark, I think in another call. And so what money is for me is love. Right? So when Lloyd's talking about how he wants to put money to use and the reason why he wants it, what does he talk about? His children. That's love. And everything that Paula talks about in relation to money, what is that? That's love. It's love for herself. And, you know, I think of it also in a way that there's no limitations. Because it's not about, okay, I'm not worth as much money as, what's that guy that does a lot? I'm sorry?
Oh, somebody's jumping onto the mic here.
Okay.
I'm not sure who that was, but if anybody is going to be rude here, we'll just have to remove you from the call.
Yeah,
right?
I think I'm not so sure that if I heard what I heard, but yeah, that was rude. So anyhow, so you know, there's people who are very well known for the success that they have in relation to money and in, you know, investing well and all those things. So what does that demonstrate? It demonstrates that it's limitless. It's not exclusive to someone because they happen to know the right places to invest. And even if I don't necessarily know the right places to invest, I trust in the idea that as a result of the accumulation
correct. My apologies, everybody. Just give me a moment to deal with these unfortunate individuals.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it's part of the risk of doing a public mastermind like this, but we'll just remove.
Wow.
We'll remove them from the group.
Oh God.
So it's probably just worth mentioning just while we're while Mark is cleaning up the room there. There's no need to even psychologically, emotionally, or spiritually engage with this sort of nonsense. So if this occurs, just wow, let people be whatever level they are at in their consciousness, which arguably is not, you know, the best place. they could be in, let's say, right? Not make too many judgments on people, right? And this is obviously what they consider to be entertainment, because that's not a topic that they're in fact.
Oh, yeah,
interested.
believe me, like, I'm not taking it, like, I'm
Well,
not
also-
attracting it within myself and taking it personally or anything like that. I just think it's kind of sad that people would, you know,
Yeah,
find that amusing. Anyhow, going back to what I was saying, let's talk about love.
Right.
Right? And that's the energy of money for me, because when I think of everything that I'd like to do with money, and I've heard this expressed by others in the call, it's all about love. And every time that I pay a bill, I do my best to think of it in that way, because it's not like I'm paying some big corporation for the receiving of electricity in my home. That is being moved forward in so many different ways and providing different things for different people, and it's all about love. And that's something that I've just come to realize very recently in my life, and I never thought about money that way until very recently.
Yeah, that's great, Wanda. I just want to just quickly apologize to everybody listening in on the call for that rude interruption. And, you know, one of the things when we started this live mastermind, we knew this kind of thing would likely occur, right? That there's going to be some people that are going to be positively engaged, and there's others that are going to be less than stellar human beings. I could tell just by the tonality and the sound of the voices, these were likely some young people from all over the world. Who knows where they're from? But I just want to apologize to everybody who got insulted there, first of all. And second thing, this is a great opportunity to sort of reflect on how we're showing up in the world and how we choose to respond to others. When you put yourself out into the world in a very public way, like we are right now, and sharing your thoughts and ideas, some people are going to be threatened by that, right? They're going to be, in sometimes, some cases it's jealous. Some cases it's misinterpreted, and their response is going to be a level 1, which is I'm a victim, or number 2, the level 2, which is an aggressive tactic, which is sort of what we got right there, right? We got some aggression. So I love to always encourage everybody to go to level 3. So for any of those young people out there listening to this live stream still, I would just encourage you to take responsibility for your life. It's nobody's fault but your own for your circumstances, right? Number 1 is just own it, right? If you're pissed off, at anybody and you'd like to insult anyone, you're really only hurting yourself. If you really understand how the universe works, everything that they just projected onto everybody here on the call, it's going to end up coming back on them, right? And they don't understand that because they're young and maybe naive, right? Uninformed. But and then once you forgive yourself, and I'd encourage you to forgive yourself for being a punk, and jumping on the call and just being a loser, right? Forgive yourself. But step 3 is cooperate. Take responsibility for your stuff, collaborate. And I'd highly recommend every one of those individuals that jumped on the call, go buy this book. Go buy this book. There's a link in the description in the group. You need to know what's in this book. Otherwise, your life will be messed up forever. Right? So pull it together there, young people. You can do it. You can do it. Like we don't, I'm not mad at you. I just want you to know that if you don't take responsibility for your life, I'm endeavoring to be service-oriented, compassionate, and understanding of your circumstance. Go buy the book, read it, learn it, and realize that there's a bunch of beautiful souls here on this call trying to share their insight, their wisdom, their knowledge with you so that you can transcend yourself and create a life that you're excited to share with the world. All right. So that being said, Ron, please jump in there.
Yes, Mark. I just want to leave with one phrase is, and it's quite interesting, was listening to it this morning in my quiet time. And it says, to be fruitful, you have to multiply. And, you know, and this is where I see the opportunity. It's not the money you're chasing, it's the opportunity to generate money. And now you can multiply it, because if you can start multiplying it, you can start helping others to grow. Because you become the fruit tree, because I mean, if you the root of a fruit tree and you've been put into proper soil, you're going to grow more fruit and you're going to help others. And this is where I see money has to be worked, is just to multiply by helping others. And the more you help, the more you're going to grow. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. Now we're coming up near the top of the hour, and we actually didn't get a chance to get to the topic. So, yeah, Mr. Chambers, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
I'm just remembering the words of Tupac when he said, "I ain't mad at you."
Yeah.
I had that theme playing in the background, you know. Yeah, it's interesting how people choose to spend their time, because obviously we could spend our time doing anything, you know. Like, for example, I don't drink alcohol anymore, so I spend my time doing things that are constructive, that contribute to where I want to go, who I have to look after, and things like that, right? So instead of going to the pub, I just read a book. Does that make me sound like a bit of a granddad vibe? Probably, right? I was talking to somebody the other day at a coffee shop, and he's like maybe 28 years old, and I was telling the lady behind me that I went to bed at 7:30 p.m. and I was blissed out that my kids were asleep, so I could just go to sleep. And the guy said to me, "I'm getting some granddad vibes here." I said, "Mate, when you have kids, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about." So there's a lot of context that I didn't know until I was there. And so if you're not there right now, it's hardly surprising that you spend your time doing this and that. When we have when we have direction, however, when we have purpose, when we have somebody that's relying on us instead of us relying on someone else, you know, say we're staying in our parents' house and they're paying all the bills, and we haven't got a whole lot of responsibility except the responsibility we choose to take onto ourselves. It can be easy just to, you know, be doing whatever for our own entertainment. So I totally get it. But I ain't mad at you, basically. And then other than that, yeah, it's funny because, you know, when we're endeavoring to do something new, there's an expectation of we must do it a certain way. But one of the things that's written in this book is that you set an intention, you do the work, but you don't get fixated on the way in which it's going to occur, because the outcome might be 10 times better than the outcome you expected. So if you're too super structured about why we need to get to the next section, or we didn't get into the topic we thought we were going to get into today, well, another opportunity will present itself. So in this case, the opportunity was obviously to dig into that paragraph, but also to reflect on the fact that it is so important to have responsibility and to have something that you're doing it for, and to be very clear on what that thing is and how and why it drives you. Because if you're not driving you, then somebody else is. And if that's somebody, you got to think about who's that somebody else. Who's driving you then if you're not driving you? Because if you were driving you, you wouldn't conduct yourself in such a way. So clearly somebody else is at the wheel and you're riding shotgun. Now, I remember experiencing this years ago, being in a car with somebody who was drunk and they were driving and I'm sitting shotgun. And I'm like, anything could happen now. This could be game over. So just be mindful. It'll be about time for you to sit in the driver's seat, take some responsibility and go wherever it is you think you want to go. That being said, I have to go and put my kids to bed. So I'm going to go do that. Mark, as always, is a pleasure. I love digging into this material. Have a lovely evening or daytime wherever you are in the world. and I'll catch you next time.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Lloyd. Yeah, we're coming up on the top of the hour. We're at the top of the hour. So I just want to wrap up this call with two things. Number one, I put in the chat a link to the mastermind community. So for all those young people that jumped on the call and interrupted earlier, come join our mastermind and learn how to grow up. Come join, and we'll help you out, but you got to show up as a human being who actually wants to learn and grow. So this is an invitation to you to come out, because I remember being young and dumb, and you know, so this is, you're welcome to come and connect with us and learn and grow. Okay. The second thing is for everybody here on the call next week, what I really want to get out of this call this week, and what I really wanted to discuss, but we didn't get there fully this week, is making definitive plans, going through, it's, I guess, chapter 2 or the first chapter, depending on how you're counting it, on desire and the 6 steps. And I'd really love to challenge you guys all to read these 6 steps this week, come back next week with your own 6 steps. After going through this, you don't have to share it in the group if you don't want to, but I'd really love to hear your process of implementing these 6 steps in terms of getting exactly what it is you want from your life, right? So the fixing the exact amount that you want, determining how you intend to do it, by which date, create a definitive plan for it. Write it out in a clear and concise statement and read that statement every single day. Like, are you actually doing that? Is everybody in the group doing that? Like, this is fundamental to getting what it is you desire. You have to fix your consciousness onto that thing. And I know this is we're still in chapter 1 here. We're literally in the first 20 pages of the book. And Napoleon Hill is dropping incredible value, paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. But the real question is, will we apply it? Are we applying it? Right? So I'd love to challenge you all. Anybody have any last final words on or statement they'd like to make about these first 6 steps? And then we will wrap up the call and we can discuss it more next week.
Mark, I just want to say thank you very much. I think it was a great call.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being here, Ron. Thank you for participating. Thank you for everybody engaging. And I'm really excited to keep moving the ball forward. And more importantly, let's apply this together. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you all for listening in. Everybody who's live on the call or watching the recording, put your thoughts on this paragraph and on these 6 steps. And more importantly, I'd like to hear where you're from in the world. And also, have you applied these 6 steps to your life? Are you doing it? And if not, come and join us and let's do it together. Create an account in the platform, because I suspect we're not going to let people into the group anymore until they have an account and we get to know them. All right. So anyways, have an incredible afternoon, incredible week, and I will see you all shortly. Take care. Until next time.